I feel like a lot of people, the awards are something that people cherish. Everyone, talks about it for weeks. Obviously, they're done during the playoffs. I think we've talked about it before. They should be done, you know, either this week or the next week, but I think they just have to tally the votes. And then we also have some breaking news, Pete, as well. We have Amani Bates apparently transferring from Memphis. That's breaking news as we
Saw
currently
that.
speak. So, maybe a quick talk on that a little bit later. But let's look at the NBA awards and just see like what we can fill it in with. So let's look at this right now. Okay. Let's see here. I need. Okay. So why don't we start with some regular season awards? I think this is obviously, kind of where we can start with. So Pete, I obviously left it in the chat. I'm not sure if you responded to it or not. Who is your MVP for the NBA season this year, the 2021-2022 NBA season? Who you got as MVP and why?
Yeah, I think it's Jokic right now. The chat.
Yo,
I I'm picking Jokic as my MVP. Like I think he's working with the least amount of stuff on his team in terms of stars alongside of him.
mm-hmm.
Two best players on the team not named Nikola Jokic have been out 99% of the season, except Michael Porter Jr. played a little bit at the beginning. I don't know, man. What they were able to do with that roster in the Western Conference, and say what you will, I think a lot of people, including myself, would consider the Eastern Conference to be a little bit better this year. Um, but the West is still a gauntlet, man. There's a lot of really good teams in the West, and Denver stuck around. They just on Jokic's back. Like, could you think of a team that would have had a bigger swing if they were missing one guy than Denver? Like, I feel like even Philly would have still won more games than Denver without Embiid. Not,
mm,
I think I said that a little bit wrong. You know what I mean? Like, if you were to take Jokic away and Embiid away from their respective teams, which team would be better? I would argue, and the only reason I would argue this is because the 76ers did end up trading for a top 30 NBA player of all time in James
yeah,
Harden. Did he play like that? No, he did not. But he did play for that team for half of the season, right? After the
right.
trade deadline. Jokic had nobody the level of James Harden, even bad James Harden. Didn't
Mm-hmm.
have anybody like that. Like Bones Highland was pretty solid. Will Barton was solid. Aaron Gordon was solid. They're not James Harden, even this weak, chubby, chicken wing eating James Harden. They're not that guy still. So I don't know, man. I think it's got to be Jokic. I really do. Like Giannis is my number two. I can't believe I moved Embiid to third, but he's my third.
Uh, I still think Embiid for me. And I'm going against the grain here. I think Embiid has just done a lot with, obviously the roster. You could say it's a lot better than Denver's at the current moment. But I think with the way that Embiid's been playing, I think that again, this is a regular season award. But I think if we look at this as the work of Embiid throughout the whole like last couple of years, I think he's been kind of jaded a little bit in terms of like voting and stuff like that. I think I have Joel Embiid first. I have Jokic second, and then I have Giannis third. Like I said, I think Jokic does deserve some credit because he is the. I can't remember what the stat was. I think he's the first player with like certain amount of points, assists, and rebounds. I need to look up what that stat is.
I think it was 3,000 points, 1,000 rebounds, and
Yeah,
500 assists. I think
NBA Jokic record
it would have been 2,500 points.
breaker. Let's see.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. This is the closest it's
Yeah,
ever been.
it's
Like
been close in a
I
while.
couldn't be mad at any of these three guys winning. Like
Mm-hmm.
anybody but those three, I would say, geez, man, maybe not, right? Like
Yeah.
I think that's a little crazy. But those three dudes are the three best players in the league. They are to me. Like, and I'm sorry, Kevin Durant. Health is just too much at this point for him to still be in my top three. But like, let's say he's fully healthy, sure, top three, right? These three
Mm-hmm.
guys play most of the games this season,
Yeah.
and Joel Embiid over the last couple of years included, they play most games most seasons
Mm-hmm.
nowadays, right? Uh, they also are just like the anchor on offense and defense of their respective teams. All
Right.
three of these guys. That would not have been the case for Nikola Jokic any season before this season. And it's actually kind of the reason I give him a bit of maybe this is unfair, but I do give him a boost just because of how much he improved on
Yeah.
defense, because it's what his team needed to be good enough this year. Like he
Hmm.
put the work in to get good enough on defense where he is not only not a liability, he is legitimately a defensive anchor at this point in his career. So that being said, I also think for Jokic too, the thing that kind of just gives him the nod for me is how much better he makes all the players on his team.
Hmm.
Like as good as Joel Embiid is, he's so dominant that he doesn't necessarily need to make everybody better, right?
Yeah.
Jokic makes everybody better. And in a way that I dare I say blasphemy, compare him to like '09 LeBron with Cleveland, right?
Wow.
Like you could put this dude with a bunch of scrubs and he is going to put them in a position to get open baskets, let
Hmm.
alone just win games.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the same thing with Joel Embiid. As much as I love him, he's one of my favorite players in recent years. He doesn't do that the way Jokic does. And I think in that sense, Giannis does it better than Joel Embiid does too. Like Giannis is incredible team player, and I'm not saying Joel isn't. I just something about the way Jokic not only is passing. I know everybody goes on and on about it, rightfully so. He's incredible.
Hmm.
I don't know. Give me Jokic all day.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this award is, like you said, it's one of the tightest races we've ever seen, or probably in the recent memory. There's probably some other close awards as well, but you can clearly see that this is something that the even people on these CBS and other news
Yeah.
networks are kind of debating, like, okay, who's one, two, and three? And like you said, Luka Doncic is obviously in that conversation as well.
Who's
With
that
the
guy
way
that
they
has Steph in the top four?
James
You miss
Herbert,
like James Herbert. You need to watch more basketball, bud. Steph
yeah.
Curry was bad the second half of the season, and he didn't play most of it.
Yeah. But like I said, let us know in the comment section down below, who do you guys think is going to be the MVP? Do you guys think it's going to be Jokic? Do you think it's going to be Embiid? Or do you think Giannis sneaks in there for his next MVP on his list? Moving on to the oh, no, what are you going to say?
I was just gonna say, I actually think Embiid is gonna win. I
You
really
think
do.
so?
I think he's going
I
to
got
win, but
I feel like it's
I
going to be
would pick
Jokic.
Jokic.
I think it's going to be
Really?
Jokic. I do. I think,
I think Embiid turned it around in the last week, man. I do.
it's just gonna be tough, and we'll see. It depends on like how the voters vote, right? I've heard some people vote for based on storyline, some people based on stats. Like it's just a crapshoot when it comes to how these people are
Yeah.
gonna vote. But let's look at rookie of the year. I think this one, I think it's no doubt, even though this person has Scotty
Ooh.
Barnes. I think it's
I think
Evan
this is
Mobley.
close.
I think it's
I
Evan
think this is
Mobley.
close.
I think it's Evan Mobley. It's not even close.
I mean, in my heart of hearts, you know where I'm going. It's Mobley. I'm taking Mobley. Even today, I'm still taking him number one over any of these guys. I'm still taking him. He's my favorite young player in the league right now, not named Luca. That being said, Scotty Barnes was so incredible for the last 2 months of the season. Man, this
But
might
that's
even
your
be closer than the
But
MVP
I think
race.
that's the key word that you said there, Pete. Last 2 months, I feel like Evan Mobley has been doing it all season, even though he had that injury knock in, I believe,
Yeah,
March. He's been doing it the whole season, and that for me is like, I think it's about the resume. I think we have a recency bias at times where it's like, okay, what have you done for me lately, or what have you done recently that we can be like, wow, this is something that we like. And to me, that's what it comes down to for a guy like Evan Mobley, is that like he's done it game in and game
he's
out from game
work.
one all the way to
Yep.
game 82, or how many games he played this season. And so that is why I think Evan Mobley will and should win the MVP, or sorry, not MVP, maybe in the future, but should win the Rookie of the Year
Couple
award.
seasons.
Should win the Rookie of the
Yeah,
Year award. And then Cade Cunningham, I think third is a great thing for him. I just think, like I talked about at the beginning of the season with Detroit, I think they were going to be in for a world of like hell because of the way that I just think the way that they play and the style. And I talked to that person that was in our comment section. I don't know if you remember that, Pete, where he was like, why are you hating on Detroit so much? Like, they're actually really good. You don't
yeah.
watch. It's like, yeah, I don't need to watch, every single game of Detroit basketball to know that those two. I just don't know if it's going to work out between them in terms of Killian Hayes and Cade Cunningham in that roster. Because I mean, we see where they're at right now. They're not playing winning basketball.
That's rough. I mean, it's really rough. And to his credit, Cade was like, I think in March was the first player. Dang, I wish I had that stat pulled up. He averaged 24, 8 assists, and 5 rebounds per game. And I think he was the first
Mm-hmm.
rookie to do that for a full month since like the 90s. Um, which, you know, that being said, like he's on a garbage team, so he had to do a lot.
Yeah.
Uh, he really did step up in the second half of the season. And again, I need to make clear, like, to me, Mobley is the rookie of the year. I think he's the rookie of the year. I think he elevated a team that was not very good last season into
Yeah.
a good team that had better potential than their exit from the play-in game uh, signified,
Yeah.
realistically. But Scotty Barnes, I just think with the voters, because of Cleveland dropping off, and that wasn't Mobley's fault in the slightest, but because of the way Cleveland dropped off and the way that Toronto rose as the season progressed, and Scotty Barnes just, man, if you watch, and this is the reason I liked Scotty Barnes even when they picked him. I think we debated this on the draft chat. I think like because we were all thinking they were obviously going to take Suggs, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
they surprised everybody and took Barnes. He's a point forward. Like he really runs their offense a lot of the time, which is surprising.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he is so mature for his age, like on the court, what he does. I think there's a chance that he gets the nod. I do think there's a chance, but it should be Mobley to me personally. I
Yeah.
agree with you.
So let us know in the comment section down below, who do you think will win that Rookie of the Year award? Is it Evan Mobley, or does Scotty Barnes make a case for himself there? Let's go to Defensive Player of the Year. This is going to be the first time in a while where we don't see Rudy Gobert on this list. Even though I think Rudy Gobert is a good defensive player, and I do think he deserved at least his first one. I do think that this is the year Marcus Smart wins it, man. Like this guy has been a key factor as to why our defense is ranked number 1 in the NBA. We had that first month where we were like, I don't know if I can trust the Celtics, and then all of a sudden the switch came on, and you could see that we've been playing much better, more sound, more together, and it's the reason why I think Marcus Smart is going to be winning his first Defensive Player of the Year award. And Robert Williams also gets a shout out too because he was a guy that also helped in many regards as to like how this team could be much better. And
Incredible, yeah.
and so I think it's Marcus Smart, even though I think that Bam Adebayo probably will get some shout. But I do think Mikal Bridges actually should be the person that should be in second place because without him, I think the
Ah,
Phoenix Suns, I don't know, man. I think they'd be in trouble without him defensively.
I think I think number two to me. I think I'd pick Marcus Smart number one too. I think I've been saying that for a month or two now. I mean, Marcus Smart when he officially got moved into your more point guard, traditional point guard role for the Celtics this season.
Yeah.
I mean, the switch flipped for him, right? Everything that we had talked about Marcus Smart being detrimental to the team for as long
Mm-hmm.
as we did, it all changed because of the position he was put in, the belief that
Yeah.
they gave him to run their offense, but also run the defensive side of the ball. And he has been an incredible defender, but this season it was just, I mean, special
Yeah.
levels of defense. I would actually put Jaren Jackson Jr. number two for me.
Jaren
Uh,
Jackson Jr. Okay.
I would put him number two, and I think honestly he's kind of a close like runner up for me to number one, and a lot of that has to do with just how much better Memphis got because of his defensive skills and because he could stay on the court this season, unlike the last
Mm-hmm.
few years.
Yeah.
Bam missed too many games for me personally. I think he played 55 games. I
Ooh,
think was his total. That's
that's not
something, and
good.
I think the same thing goes for Draymond. He missed a few too many games for me.
Mm-hmm.
Robert Williams would be my third. I'd put two Celtics in the top three. I'd put who is that? Jack Maloney. That he has my exact order. I like what he's got going on there.
Okay.
And I
Yeah.
think like too, one thing I would say for Cale Bridges, I mean, like he really think on a singular level, if it wasn't for second half of the season, as much as Marcus Smart like improved in just like a visual way, like everybody could see there was a huge difference with Marcus Smart. I would have put Mikal Bridges number one going into the mid-season range, just because of some of the games he had that
Mm-hmm.
night that he was guarding Steph Curry early in the season and just shut him down.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't think there was many players who had more individual great defensive games than Mikal Bridges did, but
Mm-hmm.
Marcus Smart is just such a dog on defense, man, and I have to apologize to him. Like I really do. You guys were trying to trade one of the Jalen's all season. Just kept talking about it. I was like, why would you do that? Jalen Brown is too good. Jason Tatum is too good. I was always on the bandwagon of you have to get rid of Marcus Smart.
Mm-hmm.
He's the guy that's constantly saying things that gets everybody mad. He's the guy that's making these crazy choices and pulling up these awful shots. And I owe him an apology. He turned it around. Like this
No.
is the guy that Marcus Smart should have been for years. And
Yep.
now it looks like because of, like I mentioned, the faith that Udoka and all these other guys in the Celtics organization put in Marcus Smart,
Mm-hmm.
really is their leader. Like
No.
in mentality and defensively, he sets the tone every single night, and you have to reward them for the defense. I mean, that is one of the best stretches of defensive play in the NBA that I've seen in 15 years of
Mm-hmm.
watching basketball. Like, I've watched basketball my whole life, but in the last 15 years in particular, while we've seen
Yeah.
this offensive revolution, I mean, they were stomping teams, stomping them defensively. Like, I think they
Mm-hmm.
had more first half. I think they had more 20-point wins than any team ever this season. Is that true? Did I make that up?
For the Celtics?
Celtics. I feel like they had some. There was some record of they had the most 20-point leads or wins of a team in a certain amount of time, right? And if you had looked at the stat even closer, they had done that in the first half of those games defensively, just locking teams down.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Got to reward that. And Marcus Smart is the guy that needs to be rewarded. I think he should get it.
Yeah, I do agree with that. And so let us know in the comment section down below, who do you guys think should win Defensive Player of the Year? Are you Team Marcus Smart, or are you Team Jaren Jackson Jr., Mikal Bridges, or Robert Williams, aka the Time Lord? Um, Sixth Man of the Year. I think everyone here and their mama has Tyler Hero winning this award. I think that's very interesting. I can't necessarily disagree with that. I think Tyler Hero's obviously been playing really well. You can see that Miami's the number one team in the Eastern side. I do agree. Everyone makes fun of him. He's kind of a meme. He hangs out with Jack Harlow. Like that's everyone's kind of like go to for him. But you can clearly see that he's definitely someone that you know played really well this season. Did a lot of amazing things, and I think Tyler Hero does deserve at least some credit to continuing and growing to the player that you know the Celtics probably should have picked up in that draft class. But again,
Yeah.
I think a lot of people were like, it's just a fluke that first year that he had. But he's kind of showing you that it's not a fluke. He's definitely not like a superstar player, but he's definitely someone that you can rely on to give you some buckets and give you those points when you need it.
Yeah, I mean, dude, did Jordan Poole just start too many games to even be considered? Is that
I,
why?
I
He
think
must
so.
have. Like he must have just started too much. Let's say that Steph Curry was healthy all season. I honestly think I would have picked Jordan Poole. Like
Yeah.
I like all of the things he brings to the game on a night in night out basis a little bit more than Hero. It's got to be Hero. I mean, it's pretty obvious. And the biggest reason being he literally is the Miami Heat's offense. Like he's their number one offensive player in some kind of weird like Lou Williams impression from a few seasons ago. Like he kind
Hmm.
of is like 2022 Lou Williams. He's just going to be a
Yeah.
heater off the bench. It's kind of their biggest gift and curse as a team. Like it's kind of their sword they're either going to live or die on, right?
Hmm.
They're either going to have him come in and be their leading scorer, or he just doesn't have it that night because he doesn't some nights and their offense just doesn't get going. So
Yeah.
see, we'll see. He definitely should win this award, but I think it's kind of one of those like almost Rudy Gobert winning Defensive Player of the Year. He has to win the award, like some people thought the last couple seasons. Does it mean they're a championship team? I'm not so sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think this one will be quick, just because, like you said, it's kind of Tyler Hero, and everybody else is kind of in the back burner. So Let us know in the comment section down below. Who do you think is going to win the Sixth Man of the Year award? Is it Tyler Hero? Is it someone else? Let us know who you think that's going to be. And let's move on to probably one of the most, I would say, this is probably going to be the most controversial award. This next one right here, Pete, and that's Most Improved Player. The reason
Hmm.
why I think it's very, I would say, maybe not controversial, maybe it's more competitive, I should say is the right word, is because you have so many players that could be potentially up for this award. You have, some people are saying John Morant, Darius Garland, you have Anthony Simmons, you got Desmond Bain, you got DeJounte Murray, you got Miles Bridges also in that category. Jordan Poole, someone put in here. But I think for me, what it comes down to, like I would say, is more so. And let me just shut my window down as they start mowing the lawn. Um,
A
I would
little mowing.
I would say that this is probably the most controversial award. And to be honest, Pete, I want to go Desmond Bain so bad because
I don't
he's.
want to go Ja. There's my controversial take. I don't want this award to go to Ja. I think that is completely not the spirit of this award. What about you?
I think it should go to Desmond Bain. It should either go to Desmond Bain or then there's
God,
Darius Garland.
I even think Desmond Bain, like,
Who do
and
you think
you know,
then? Do you think
people,
Garland?
dude, honestly, I would take DeJounte Murray for this award.
DeJounte Murray, okay. Going with
And
the
here's
homer
here's my
pick.
here's my rationale. Here's my
Okay.
rationale.
Okay, go ahead.
This award to me is kind of like I feel like this might be the most confusing award on its surface, right? Because it's very simple in like the title, most improved,
Mm-hmm.
right? But what are we rewarding most improved, right? Are you a year one player who everybody thought was pretty good going into year two, and did you just get better like everybody predicted? I think that's kind of a whack reason to give somebody the most improved award, unless it's like drastic uptick in production, right? I
Mm-hmm.
think an even worse reason to give somebody the award is like John Morant's case, right? John Morant was a borderline superstar last year, right? Like, I get wanting to reward him for elevating into a superstar, right? But we
Mm-hmm.
already knew he was good. We knew this dude was great. And if you really watched, you probably knew he could be way better than he was last season, which he was already really good. So my point is that seems like now you're giving him the most improved as a replacement for not being able to fit him into the other awards, which maybe he'll be ready for in a couple seasons, right?
Yeah.
Maybe even next season. You don't need to force an award for that reason. And I think there's a lot of people that would say that's not forcing an award. It's the most improved. But I think if you are the most improved, I think it should come from maybe what's the word I'm looking for? You're coming from an unexpected place of most improved. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Not
I
like
get
it
you.
would have been hard to predict, but you took maybe not the best tools and drastically improved
Mm-hmm.
player that you as a person were the last season and nobody saw it coming. I would say that's what it should be. I think like DeJounte Murray is a good example. People knew he was good. The dude averaged 25, 9, and 8 for the whole last 40 games of the season. It was something like that. It was 24,
Mm-hmm.
nine assists and 7 rebounds, something crazy, right? And it was a good enough form of basketball that they made it to the play-in game with not a very good team. That to me is the spirit of the award, to me personally. So I would say him. Um, Even Desmond Bain. I think I picked Desmond Bain to win this award. He put himself in position. He might actually even end up winning it. Then the more I thought about it, like I thought this guy was good. Like he was good last season as a rookie. Should we reward a rookie for just doing what they should be doing and getting better? I guess. I don't know. Maybe I'm off the rails on this one, but I always feel like it should be a singular player that people did not think was as good as they ended up being.
I just think for me, for like a guy like Desmond Bain, like we knew that he was going to be a good player, but he stepped up his role even more. This is similar to the way that T.J. Warren played a couple years back. I don't know if you remember him and his and the
Yeah.
style that he
Oh
played.
yeah.
Like it's just kind of that type of progression. And when you go from like good player to like great player, people are going to take notice, and that's where I think the award should go to these players that, like you said, no one really knows if they're going to be good or not, but they're probably going to be at least contending and uh, at least like give some great some great energy, great feedback, and I just think that's what Desmond Bain did, and I just think that that's kind of what I would would entail and what I would envision Desmond Bain to win this award. Like Darius Garland, I know he's going to be good. He kind of reminds me of Steve Nash a little bit with his fast twitch play style that you
Yeah.
can kind of see. And so to me, it's like, yeah, I know Darius Garland's going to be good. John Morant, I think he's going to be a superstar, obviously. And then it just comes down to the other guys. You know, you have Miles Bridges. Miles Bridges could be another person in contention for that award, I think,
Yeah.
because
Be in my top 3.
and I do think that DeJounte Murray could also be in that conversation. So if I had to pick it, even Tyrese Maxey, another guy that we could kind
Yeah,
of talk.
he's got to be considered too. I mean, if you're considering Desmond Bain, you got to consider the other rookies from last season that people
Mm-hmm.
didn't think were going to take such a big leap. Like,
No.
I would actually put I would put DeJounte as 1A and then 1B as Jordan Poole to me. Like Jordan Poole, I think is a great example of most improved,
Yeah,
right?
I
A
agree
guy
with
that
that.
was taken late in the draft. Not many people even knew who Jordan Poole was. And now
Mm-hmm.
everybody knows who Jordan Poole, even casual fans know Jordan Poole. And that
Yeah.
could just be because it's the Warriors, of course. Like people watch the Warriors. If he was on the Nuggets, would people care about Jordan Poole? Probably not as much. But Jordan Poole has improved so much that he was a
Mm-hmm.
worthwhile substitute for Steph Curry. That has to mean something. That
Yeah,
has to mean something.
I
So
agree.
I don't know. I almost just convinced. I changed my mind. I'm going to pick Jordan Poole. I did it.
Jordan
Convinced
Poole.
myself.
Okay, going with the
He
Warriors pick.
deserves to be rewarded for how much better he's gotten. I think.
Okay. Yeah, definitely don't disagree with that. I think Jordan Poole has definitely stepped up his game, and you could clearly see why he's a vital piece to the Warriors moving forward into this playoff series that we will see either tomorrow or tonight. I think they play tonight, if I'm not
They
mistaken.
do. Yeah, they play at 5:30. I think
Or is it
30 Pacific.
17th? Oh, they play tonight. Okay. Um, yeah, so I think let us know in the comment section down below who do you have. If I had to pick again, I would go Desmond Bain, I would go Miles Bridges, then I would go DeJounte Murray, number
I
three.
believe that. I predicted Desmond Bain, and now I'm picking against him, and now you're picking Desmond Bain.
Yep. I can't remember who
The
I
tie.
picked, and
The
I need to look
tables turn.
back. I need to look back and see who I picked so I can check the tapes.
We
And then
need to check that out.
let's move on to the last award. I think this is, no one really cares about the executive of the year unless you are an executive. I think Brad Stevens apparently is going to win it. I'm not sure about that one. I don't know if that's on him. But let's look at coach of the year. I think this one is to me pretty obvious, but also could be
He
competitive as well. I think Monty Williams will get this award.
gotta
Um,
be.
and then Taylor Jenkins is going to be winning it for second because I think he's done an amazing job with that Memphis Grizzlies team. But you can't deny what Monty Williams had did that season, and I think that he didn't win it last year because of Tom Thibodeau and the New York
Yeah.
Knicks making a run, and so you got to give it to Monty Williams this year.
I think even more so, and I say this as a Knicks fan, like in retrospect, like this is one of those awards where not only did Monty Williams literally just coach like a top 10 regular season team of all time, but he did it 2 seasons in a row. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like
Yeah,
he, looking back at it, like he should have won last year too. You know, he
yeah,
really should have. So give him his award. He deserves it. He is, you're putting a list together of 5 coaches you would take to lead your team for the next 10 years. I mean, he's got to be top 5 for
yep,
sure. And is leader of men. You know, he's made everybody on Phoenix better. So
yeah.
Monty Williams definitely should be coach of the year.
Yeah, I think this list is pretty right. Monty Williams, Taylor Jenkins, and then Eric Spoelstra. I think a lot of people forget about
Yeah.
Eric. I think people forget about Eric
I'd
Spoelstra,
put
man.
Ty Lue. I'd give Ty Lue 3 personally.
You give Ty Lue
But
3, or what about JB Bickerstaff? I think Bickerstaff also.
I'd give Ty Lue. I think Ty Lue deserves way more credit for coaching a bad roster than like JB Bickerstaff does.
No.
You think that the Clippers roster without Paul George and Kawhi is anywhere near Cleveland's roster? The roster's terrible, Bernie.
It's terrible, but come on, man. We
He
can't be
coached them.
rewarding LA teams with like participation trophies like that, man.
I don't think that's a participation trophy, man. I mean, he coached them into a good position. If playoff P wasn't
Pandemic
constantly
fee.
coming, he's coming up in the clutch in all the worst ways every season. It feels like, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like at all stretch of the imagination, that Clippers team should have been one of the worst teams in the league. In my opinion. without Paul George, as much as they didn't have him, and zero Kawhi all season, they should have been one of the worst teams in the league. Reggie Jackson was their best player.
Yeah.
And Ty Lue coach, and that is not like wasn't Reggie Jackson being so miraculous that he carried them to the
Yeah.
the play-in game. Ty Lue really coached the hell out of that team, and I think like Spoelstra is working with. I think he's. Don't get me wrong. Like back to my metric I just came up with of like if I'm picking a coach for the next 10 years, and Spoelstra is like one or two. You know, like I'm taking him in my top three for sure over Ty Lue, but considering what he was working with, the lack of any substance to that team and any way
Mm-hmm.
to make themselves better in the middle of the season, which they did find a way. They got Norm Powell, but
Yeah.
say what you will if you think he's that much of an improvement. That was an impressive coaching display by Ty Lue. I think he's proved me definitely wrong. And I would even put Udoka over Spoelstra. I would, genuinely. Spoelstra would be 5 for me.
I think Solskjaer deserves some love, man. I just think he never does because of the fact that he was a LeBron. He would coach LeBron, and I just feel like whenever a coach does, or whatever a coach does coach LeBron, I just feel like they never get the respect that they do. With obvious reasons. I think for some of them, maybe some of them aren't ready enough. But I think Eric Spoelstra's just kind of proving you that he's more than just like a LeBron James, kind of like living off the clout of LeBron James, and so
Well,
that's
he's
why.
one of the best coaches ever, probably. I mean, honestly, Spoelstra is an incredible coach. Every single season he's been a head coach. Even with bad rosters, he's made them really competitive. So I'm not trying to take anything away from Spoelstra. I just think like with what these other guys were
Yeah,
coming from last season, some of them like Udoka in particular, being on a completely new team and a new franchise, being a head coach for the first time. And one thing I would say, like I don't think people talk about this enough with coaches, the NBA. Like taking bold risks as a head coach in the NBA might be like one of the most perilous job choices you can take, right?
yeah,
We've seen so many coaches get job after job and wonder like how is this guy getting jobs, right? And the reason is because they play it safe enough or teams don't worry that
mm,
they're going to come in and do something crazy, right?
yeah,
There is something to be said about a coach who comes in and just is going to do what they think is the best thing to do to win games, and even
yeah,
if it's a big risk. And I would say of all the coaches in the league, Ime Udoka took the biggest risk this season. Like he did, calling out his players as much as he did in the first half of the season, playing the rotations he played to prove points to these guys and force them to be tougher than they were coming into this season. That's about as bold of a risk you can take in the empowerment era. And I think he showed that you can coach with tough love in the NBA still. You can.
yeah. That's true.
Maybe Spoelstra, has shown that for years now with the Heat culture, right? But when you say that about Eric Spoelstra, he still does have Pat Riley. He still does have
Yeah,
the structure of the Miami Heat that's been there for years. Ime Udoka came into the Celtics with Brad Stevens getting roasted for being the new GM of this team, and he still made it work. So I don't know, man. He could even be like, I would even be convinced that he could be number 2 over Taylor Jenkins. But no matter what, it's Monty Williams.
yeah, for sure. For sure, it's Monty Williams, and it's not even close. So let us know in the comment section down below, who do you guys think is going to be the winner of the Coach of the Year awards, and let us know who you guys think is going to be the winner of all the other awards. We went over them. What do you think of our opinions? Are we right? Are we wrong? I want to start this dialectic conversation, so please put it in the comment section down below as this video goes live on a different day. Let us know in the comment section down below.